Howie Lake violated Alton Sterling's civil rights. After an exhaustive year-long federal criminal civil rights investigation, the federal government concluded that there was insufficient evidence to charge our police officers with a federal crime. Second, the Attorney General's office in Louisiana investigated was to determine if our police officers were in violation of state criminal laws. After an extensive investigation, it was determined that there was no sufficient evidence to bring forth criminal charges by the Attorney General. Once those two investigations concluded, it was my responsibility to the citizens of Baton Rouge and also to the men and women who wear this uniform to conclude an administrative investigation and to bring closure to a cloud that has been over our community for far too long. I will not provide step-by-step specifics as it relates to what you're going to see in the video. I'm not going to do that. The Attorney General and the U.S. Attorney gave a very specific, detailed account of what's on that video. We will provide a copy for everybody here of all the video evidence that we have in our possession related to this incident. We will also provide a copy of the report and all documents required by Louisiana Public Records law. And you will have an opportunity to view it for yourself and assess the conduct of our police officers and Mr. Sterling. As Chief of Police of the Baton Rouge Police Department, I am tasked with ensuring the quality and professionalism of the officers that serve our community. My finding is based on the actions of the officers in responding to the incident, as well as their adherence to the policies and training provided by the Baton Rouge Police Department. These actions were not minor deviations from policy, as they contributed to the outcome that resulted in the death of another human being. Last night, in the very room that you are in right now, we held a disciplinary hearing for Officer Howie Lake and Officer Blain Salamoni. This hearing was convened separately for each officer. Each officer was represented by an attorney and by a union representative. We discussed the evidence that was presented as part of the administrative review process, and each officer had an opportunity to present arguments, to present witnesses, and to provide an explanation for his behavior and actions during the incident. Officer Howie Lake answered all of the questions that was presented during the hearing. On the advice of his attorney, Officer Salamoni chose not to answer any of our questions. We take great consideration of the demands that we place on our law enforcement officers. Every officer knows in their heart that they may be called to a higher duty. Just a few blocks from here, we lost 3 of our officers. They were murdered in walking distance from where we now stand. And this year in America, we've mourned the loss of 20 law enforcement officers across this country due to firearm-related death. So I take officer safety to heart. But our actions as law enforcement officers needs to reflect both the legal and community standards, as well as the practices and policies of our police department. Daily, our officers respond to incidents that require the ability to effectively and safely resolve critical incidents. And we have officers that demonstrate this behavior every single day without compromising officer safety. Our officers are a great authority, and they deserve our support. In exchange, they need to be professionally responding to incidents in line with our policies, in line with our training and legal standards that govern officer actions. Our police officers are held to a higher standard. Fear cannot be a driver for an officer's response to every incident. Unreasonable fear within an officer is dangerous. Rather, an officer needs to respond with awareness of a situation and the ability to effectively and rationally evaluate a situation and its appropriate response. Our officers should be guardians for the community, providing assurance that will act legally and professionally, and when appropriate, transition to that warrior mentality when he feels that his life or someone else's life is in imminent danger. Policing isn't easy. To our community, all the residents of Baton Rouge who are watching, please listen to my words very carefully. Treat our police officers with the respect that their positions deserve. Treat our police officers with the respect that their positions deserve. And I assure you that the men and women of the Baton Rouge Police Department will reciprocate that gesture. Please stop resisting. Stop running. Stop running. When a police officer gives you direction, listen. Follow his directives. Listen to his instructions. Being a lawyer on the side of the roadway doesn't work out. Please. It's important. In that encounter, when you follow our officer's directives, if our officer is unprofessional, if you believe that that stop was unconstitutional, or if he was unprofessional in any kind of way, if you believe it was racial profiling or whatever your issue is, then I encourage you to get with your family, your mama, your community ambassador, whoever your support system is, your pastor, and file a complaint. We want to hear about it. We want to know about it. Because this is what happens when you do that. When you take the time to pick up the phone and file a complaint, this is what happens. We get to learn if our police officers are responding to the training and the policies and procedures that we have in place. But we don't know that unless you pick up the phone and you tell us. It's important. That's how we identify. And in most cases when that happens, most complaints will be resolved by the police department communicating or articulating to you that we had a legal right to do what we did. We can clear a lot of complaints up that way. or they will be cleared through coaching, mentoring, training, counseling, and when appropriate, discipline. But we need to hear from you. We will be releasing video evidence and reports at the conclusion of this press conference. And we do this to demonstrate our commitment of transparency within the community. The videos that you're going to see, they're not going to tell the whole story of the investigation. They're just part of the evidence that was presented before us. The videos that you will see and hear are graphic, and they're shocking to the conscience. And experts all across the nation, they're going to dissect the video. They're going to dissect our reports. They're going to Monday morning quarterback everything our officers did, everything in investigative process. And we understand that. But we will not focus on the rearview mirror. This incident happened 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago. Instead, we're going to focus on what's ahead of us. And that's our pursuit as a police department to strive for excellence in law enforcement. That's what we're going to focus on. We will be professional in everything we do. We will be professional in our appearance. We will be professional in our demeanor, how we interact with people. We will be professional in the processes, and we will be professional in the product that we put out. We have great men and women in this department who wear this uniform, who understand leadership, who understand the values of loyalty, duty, respect, honor, integrity, and personal courage. But their actions, they don't trend on social media. Their performance don't make the headlines of the newspaper. Their conduct doesn't present gatherings like this conference is. Not the good deeds we do. We don't get this much attention for the good deeds. But we have police officers out there every day that are putting their lives on the line. And we ask a lot of our police officers. We do. And sometimes it appears that those expectations are not reasonable. We want our police officers to be medics. With the opioid epidemic, we want them to be crime fighters, social workers, crime preventers, marriage counselors. And I can go on and on and on about all the things that we expect our police officers to be. And each one of those that I've mentioned, each one of those responsibilities require a different hat, a different skill set, each one of them, to accomplish that task. And what we do, that task. And what we do as a community. We don't even want to pay our police officers. But yet we want them to wear all of these different hats. Pay our police officers. They deserve it. They deserve it. They deserve it. They deserve it. Because the officers I'm going to talk about, one mistake was a lot more egregious than the other. You hear about that, but you don't hear about the good work that the men and women of this police department are doing every day. And we're going to work with the mayor. We're going to work with the city council. We're going to work with our local legislators. We're going to work with the union, and we're going to work with the community. And we're going to put together a plan to make us one of the highest paid police departments in this state. And we're going to do our part to show you that we are the professional agency that we can be. To the Baton Rouge police officers who are watching right now, I will be meeting with each and every one of you to explain how I got to the decision today. It's important that we have this one-on-one dialogue. It's important because some people are going to tell you that I don't have your back. Some people are going to tell you that because I believe in reform, which only means change, that I don't support law enforcement. Some are going to tell you that the mayor hired me on conditions. Some are going to tell you that I didn't give enough time to the attorneys who are representing these police officers to build their case. All lies. Simply not the truth. Simply not the truth. I have your back. I support you. I appreciate what you do every day. We all do. It's important for you to know that. We pray for you each and every single day, my staff and I. Now, just to be clear, my decision was not based on politics. It was not based on emotions. It was based on the facts of the case. The testimony provided by our officers and witnesses, and a recommendation from our board members during the disciplinary hearing. But I take full responsibility for the decision that I made. And it's a responsibility that I take very seriously. And I understand that this decision will not only affect the officers, but it will also affect their families and the community as well. Me as well. We have 2 officers involved in one incident. The same incident with 2 different responses. 2 different perspectives. And they perceived the threat different. One officer attempted to use de-escalation and disengagement techniques consistent with policy and procedure and training. And one officer did not follow the tactics, training, professionalism, and organizational standards. Simple. As a result of the administrative investigation into the conduct and behavior of Officer Howie Lake, as it relates to the Baton Rouge Police Department training policy and procedure related to use of force, it is not sustained. As it relates to command of temper, a disposition of sustained was determined, and Officer Howie Lake will be suspended for 3 days. That is my decision. That is the right decision. As a result of the administrative investigation into the conduct and behavior of Officer Blain Salamoni, as it relates to the Baton Rouge Police Department training policy and procedures, a violation of use of force has been sustained, and a violation of command of temper has been sustained. Officer Blain Salamoni has been terminated from the Baton Rouge Police Department effective today. We ask that you keep both officers and their families in your prayers, and keep the men and women of the Baton Rouge Police Department in your prayers as well. That concludes my statement.
Chief Paul.